Will one of you finally give me what I desire? Yes, we will.
One of the aspects of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 that has been teased and hyped up the most for this game is its darker tone. The president of Marvel Games, Bill Roseman, called it their Empire Strikes Back, and that it gets a little bit darker and is the next big chapter. But to be honest with you guys, I love the idea of a darker Spider-Man story, especially right off the heels of Marvel Spider-Man. It has me very hyped. I have always been a fan of darker tones within Spider-Man stories, and it's my belief that in order for this game to pull off its darker tone, Insomniac will need to nail the character of Venom. And boy, did they get off to a strong start by casting none other than the horror icon, Tony Todd. If you aren't familiar with Tony Todd, he is an actor that's been around for decades and is most famous for his role in the Candyman movies. But Tony's acting range goes far beyond what you see on camera. He has also voiced characters in over a dozen projects. This man has nothing but decades of experience and talent to back it up. Which leads me to this one question. Could Tony Todd become one of the best adaptations of Venom so far? And to answer this question, I have none other than Evan Filarka here with me on the channel for the first time to discuss this. So Evan, thank you so much for your time. And I first have to ask you, how much confidence do you have in Tony Todd when it comes to portraying this iconic Spider-Man villain?
Well, thank you so much for having me on your channel, Keenan. It truly means a lot to me. And as for Tony Todd's role within Marvel Spider-Man 2 as Venom, it truly is going to be not only an insanely awesome portrayal of one of Spider-Man's most iconic foes within this game, but is also going to take the acting capabilities of the narrative to layers and depths that I don't think we've necessarily seen before within the realm of video games. Truly seeing an actor like Tony Todd embrace Venom in such a detailed level, from actually not only voice acting as him, but also doing motion capture work for this character, is going to enhance the performance of Venom within the game to an even greater level, especially interacting with Yuri Lowenthal and Najee Jeter as Peter and Miles during this darker tone story. We also know that from the first game that Scott Porter provided the voice for Harry Osborn, who has been implied in both Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales' post-credit scenes to seemingly be the host of the Venom symbiote within the Insomniac Games universe. They could always go the main route of Eddie Brock, but we still don't know officially as of right now who the main host of Venom is within the Marvel Spider-Man 2 teaser trailer. But in this sense, if Tony Todd ends up becoming the voice of Venom, but is still inhabiting the character traits of Harry Osborn becoming Venom, again, that amount of depth and layers to that character is going to enhance the narrative in such an immense way that I don't really think we've ever seen before for a portrayal of Venom outside, I would say, the comics. We have obviously had Venom be showcased in Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire and Topher Grace, and most recently the standalone Venom movies with Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock in live action. But having the world building that Insomniac has incorporated into their own universe and enhancing that even further with an actor like Tony Todd and all the very talented horror movies that he has been a part of, like Candyman, and also my own personal favorite, the Final Destination franchise, and having the amount of ominous vibes that he does provide in the majority of his horror movie roles is definitely going to bring a different type of tone to this version of Venom, especially in recent years, mainly in the cases of the Venom movies. Venom has been mainly showcased as more of the Lethal Protector iteration of the character from the main 616 comics. Whereas in this game, especially taking into consideration what Bill Roseman has said, going a darker route, I am very much looking forward to hopefully receiving another version of Venom, which is relying more towards the horror and creepy elements of the character versus more of the darker humor, comedic vibes that we do see from the comics and recent films. But sincerely giving us that more horror level version of Venom that a lot of fans, and I definitely think Keen in this case as well, and myself, have desperately wanted to see again within any form of Spider-Man media.
Yeah, they're kind of giving us a take on Venom that has been missing more recently, I think, in terms of all sorts of media. And we're hoping, at least you and I are hoping, that they avoid the Lethal Protector route and just go for Venom being a straight up villain in this story. That's my hope, at least. One of the things that I did not expect was Tony Todd doing motion capture for this character. And I think that that's very important because, he's done dozens of projects with just voiceover for characters. But he also gets to explore actually physically acting out this character, which I'm really looking forward to because it allows him to just completely immerse himself in the role. One example of somebody doing motion capture and doing a voiceover that I thought was fantastic was Benedict Cumberbatch voicing Smaug for the Hobbit movies. I thought he took over that role, and I think a lot of it had to do with him doing the motion capture for it as well. I mean, there are clips of him online just kind of crawling around like a dragon and just voicing this character. And he was one of the highlights of that series. I don't really like the Hobbit movies so much, but he was one of the highlights of that series just because of the way he was fully able to embrace being that character. And I think that that's just one of the things I'm most excited about Tony Todd doing Venom. Is just the fact that he's going to be able to completely immerse himself into portraying this almost like a horror-like villain, at least we hope. And being that he is such a horror icon, I feel like he really is perfect for the role and brings something new to Venom that we haven't seen in quite some time.
And alongside of that, we also see him researching the comics themselves of some of the most important storylines that do include Venom, with one of his Instagram posts that showcases all the main highlights from the older era of Spider-Man comics, and also Venom versus Carnage, which may or may not tease Carnage in this universe, which would be awesome. But overall, he's truly taking from the best bits of Venom from the comics and hopefully is going to incorporate as much of that as possible within his own interpretation, while also making it unique to him and his acting capabilities, and also what exactly Tony's take on Venom is going to be in comparison to the other actors that we have seen embrace this role in the past. And even more so, which I think is the most important element about this casting and this role as a whole with Venom, showcased in the initial teaser trailer as hopefully the main villain of the entire game, as well as teases of Kraven the Hunter, is that it's a game and not a movie. Meaning that the game is going to have an even longer amount of time to fully dive into all the elements that Insomniac wants to cover for Venom and his connections to Peter and Miles as Spider-Man, and of course, hopefully seeing that transition of either Harry or Eddie becoming Venom over time, whether it might be slow and painful or quick and painless or really, really haunting and kind of a scary thing to transition into this symbiotic creature, or how they're going to embody, hopefully, the Black Suit Spider-Man arc and then eventually leaving Peter or Miles, depending on who the symbiote attaches itself to, and then re-bonding itself to either Harry or Eddie to then become the definitive Venom within this game's world. And having numerous hours along this entire campaign, and even possibly DLC, that will continue that arc and enhance it in ways that a movie or a TV show cannot do, is going to give Tony and his performance as Venom, whenever we do end up seeing him on screen as this character, even more freedom to play around in and a lot more opportunity to flesh out this character as frequently as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree more with what you're saying. I think based on, what we've both have said throughout this video, I think we have a ton of confidence in Tony Todd. Not just in Tony Todd, but obviously in Insomniac, going through the due process and casting and finding the perfect person for this role. I'm certainly excited for Tony Todd to embrace this character of Venom. I can't wait to see what he does with it. That's going to pretty much conclude it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. And a special thank you to Evan for joining me on this very first ever collaboration on my channel. I think you're actually the first person to collab with me on my channel, which is really neat. So thank you so much to you for joining me on this, and you can find Evan and all of the links in my description if you want to check him out. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.
Bye, everybody.